Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. So I just put out a huge video, so I'm going to do a few rapid fire reviews. There's been a bunch of films and TV shows that I caught up on that I do want to talk about. Though I'm probably going to calm down a bit because I do need a breather. I have a lot going on in my life. No matter, no excuses. There's a great film that came out a couple weeks ago that I saw on premiere night and I've been dying to talk about it. So without further ado, let's talk about Creed 3, which happens to be Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut. And before I even get started on Creed 3, man, I've been late to the party. I didn't even know that Creed was part of the Rocky franchise. So a massive shout out and a hats off to my buddy at work who basically highlighted the fact that, hey, maybe you should check out this film. Because initially I was kind of lukewarm towards Creed 3. I was sure there was going to be a crowd pleaser, and I do like Michael B. Jordan. I think he's pretty fantastic in the few films I have seen him in, but I didn't realize just how much passion he was putting into this. So since then, I have seen Creed 1 and Creed 2, and I thought they were excellent and totally got me hyped to just go down the rabbit hole of watching all the other Rocky films that I haven't seen. I still have the final one, Rocky Balboa, to watch, so maybe I'll talk about those in another video, but no matter, I'm on the hype train and I went to go see Creed 3 on premiere day with that friend from work, and honestly I was kind of blown away. I might have mentioned this already, but this is Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut, and he did a fantastic job. So let's start from the drama front. Honestly, I think there's a pretty meaningful narrative that's being told here. The family relationship at home that he's got going, like obviously he's on the top of the world right now. He's financially stable. His wife and daughter are doing well. And I do love all the ASL language that's going on in this film. And I do appreciate some of the artistic quirks added to some of the subtitles that recall some anime vibes and even some John Wick vibes, I dare say. More on that anime vibes later on. But really, I do appreciate the family relationship and the family values that this film is exposing and highlighting. Not to say that it's all perfect, there are some ups and downs, but in a good dramatic fashion. But I think by far the most noteworthy relationship on screen is between Adonis Creed and his old-time buddy Damien, who just came out of prison. I really do like the chemistry on screen between Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan. It's no surprise now that Michael B. Jordan's quite the acting power with the Creed films and Black Panther, but Jonathan Majors is turning out to be quite the revelation this year, isn't he? I mean, I think it was in the same month we had Ant-Man 3 and now Creed 3. Holy shit. I mean, everything I loved about his performance in Ant-Man as Kang the Conqueror, I think it's just supersized here in Creed, which is kind of hilarious because, that's like the fantastic superhero world, and this is kind of much more a grounded experience. Honestly, he has a towering presence and performance here, and it's not just his size, and yes, he is massive. Already, Michael B. Jordan is a pretty big and beef guy. But Jonathan Majors in this film is just massive. The guy's like a fucking mountain. They are jacked. If for no other reason you're just looking to go to the cinema to see bare-chested guys duke it out, you're gonna get that in spades. It's quite the spectacle in that regard. But really, to go back to some of the dramatic roots that this film instills, I really do appreciate what's going on here. It's a very potent drama that goes to the roots of Adonis Creed's character and challenges him in some really interesting ways. I do think that Damien is the perfect antagonist for Adonis Creed, especially after having such a massive highlight of an antagonist in the previous film, Creed 2, with Victor Drago. And it is cool to see him come back in this film in such a positive light. And that's another thing I want to highlight and praise the film on. It's not all completely good or completely bad. Like, there are shades of gray in between, and even the antagonists, you know what, they can come around. And even the good people sometimes, they have their dark streaks at times. So it is a surprisingly nuanced drama going on here in what may seem like just a guilty pleasure. So once again, thanks to my friend for highlighting that, hey, you know what, maybe you should be interested in Creed 3. It could actually kind of surpass your expectations. But yeah, the fights in this film are epic as hell and are quite powerful, not just in the combat itself, which it certainly is, but also in the dramatic symbology. Truly, I think Creed 3 is the most expressive and cleanest cinematographic presentation thus far in not only the Creed franchise, but even in all the Rocky films. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on here. Once again, like I said, the fights, not just in their epicness and their power, but also in the symbology that's integrated into the fights in themselves. At the end of the film, there's something that I can only refer to as a true yin and yang moment between Adonis Creed and Damien. I thought it was breathtaking to see this kind of little details and mise-en-scène on screen. And speaking of yin and yang, I think this is the perfect moment to bring up those anime references that clearly have inspired Michael B. Jordan in this film. You see a perfect calendar early in the film in Adonis's childhood bedroom, and you clearly see it in some of the choreography and cinematography and editing tricks used in some of the fights earlier on, and certainly later in the film. I love how this film changes the DNA of what we could expect in a Creed and Rocky film for the kind of presentations and fights. There's some really cool stuff in there that I won't spoil. It's the use of imagery and symbology to create a powerful drama. So as you can tell, I'm head over heels in love with this film for the most part, but I do have a few complaints, two of them notably. One of them, my friend totally agrees on this, and we both had the same thought coming out of the cinema. Adonis, with his wife and child, go to see a boxing match, and at one point things get pretty violent, and the wife, Bianca, I believe her name is, she starts hiding the eyes of her child. I mean, really? You brought her to a boxing match. What did you think would happen? So yes, a bit irrelevant and kind of amusing, but it just seems like a bit of a gap in logic, in my opinion. But I think the biggest issue by far is the fact that Sylvester Stallone's not in this film. Now, I didn't go too deep down the rabbit hole to find out why he's not in there. From what I can tell, it's not that there's beef between Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone. From what I understand, it's more of an executive producer thing, and the fact that he doesn't really own the rights. Look, I don't really go into this kind of celebrity gossip and whatnot and who's backstabbing who, but it would be lying to you if I didn't say that it did throw a bit of a wet blanket on what is otherwise a rather sublime film-going experience. There's one moment later in the film where it just completely disregards world-building logic on why Rocky wouldn't be there at this intense dramatic moment in the film. It is quite the peak, and it does feel a bit empty without Rocky there. He should have been there at least for that one scene. Now, with that being said, do I think that Rocky needs to be in every single film going forward? Not necessarily. I think Creed 3 actually makes quite the convincing argument to say that, you know what, we're actually in pretty good shape even without having Rocky in the picture, however awkward that may be in this current situation. So yeah, this is an incredibly high watermark and definitely one of the favorite of the entire Rocky Creed franchise. I'm gonna give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. I know I'm a bit late to the party with this review. I mean, working full-time as a game developer, and with all these films and TV shows and games coming out and music coming out and life, you know, that thing, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to be on top of this shit as other YouTubers out there. So I hope you enjoyed this video anyways, and if you haven't seen the film yet and you are interested and it's still in theaters, go check it out because it's actually way better than you might think. Did I score it already? If I didn't, I'm gonna repeat it one more time. I'm gonna give Creed 3 a rock solid 8.5 out of 10. It was exhilarating. Alright, with all that being said, I'm going to call it a day. As always, wishing you and your loved ones nothing but the best. Take care and talk to you soon.